everybody, and welcome. I'm Neil Kerwin, the president of American University. I'll take that whenever I can get it, rare enough. At American University, an element of our mission and our strategic plan challenges us to bring to bear the powers of our collective intellect, to recognize, study, understand, and debate the great issues of our time. We've dedicated ourselves to put that learning to work for our city, for our nation, and for the world. Thanks to the efforts of our renowned Kennedy Political Union and the Office of the Vice President of Communications, we've been able to honor a series of distinguished individuals who have dedicated themselves to the pursuit of very similar goals. All of the previous recipients of Wonk of the Year, including President Bill Clinton, journalist Anderson Cooper, and First Lady Laura Bush, share a common commitment to use their intellect, their passion, and their influence to effect meaningful change in this world. Characteristics that we admire and we believe deserve recognition. Tonight, we add a fourth name to that list when we welcome and honor one of the most accomplished strategists in American politics. It really would be hard to overstate the impact that Donna Brazile has had both on our political landscape and in advancing our understanding of American political life. Along the way, she's broken numbers of barriers. Perhaps the most prominent and most impressive, becoming the first African-American woman to manage a United States presidential campaign. So on behalf of a very grateful university community, I extend our warmest welcome, our gratitude for her willingness to spend time with us, and our admiration for her remarkable capacity to educate and to spur citizens to participate in the democratic process. Now, since this award is presented by our students, it is a tradition that the Kennedy Political Union Director has the honor of introducing our special guest. Tonight, that responsibility goes to Valeria Ojeda Avitia, a junior international studies major from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Val's co-curricular activity include president of the College Democrats, interning at the DNC. So this suggests that she's going to be rather comfortable and very excited about introducing our special guest. Please join me in welcoming Val to the podium.
Hello and good evening. Thank you, Dr. Curran, for the warm introduction. Tonight, I'm glad to be able to continue the annual tradition of American University, honoring a well-known individual who represents the embodiment of a Wonk. Someone smart, passionate, focused, and engaged, who uses their knowledge to influence and to create something meaningful of change in the world. Donna Brazile is most well known for her role as campaign manager of Al Gore's 2000 presidential campaign. In the cycle, she became the first African-American woman to run a presidential campaign. Today, Donna serves as the vice chairwoman of the Democratic National Committee, as a contributor to CNN, and as an adjunct professor at Georgetown University. Working in such diverse and influential roles, Donna is the definition of a passionate, focused, and engaged Wonk. She is an easy choice to receive tonight's distinguished award. Tonight's discussion is moderated by School of Communication professor Jane Hall. Professor Hall regularly appears on CNN, MSNBC, PBS, C-SPAN, and other networks. Please join me in welcoming Professor Jane Hall.
Thank you.
And with that, please help me in welcoming onto the stage the 2015-2016 Wonk of the Year, Donna Brazile.
bags here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's for me?
You can have it.
Oh, good. Val, I don't want your notes. Anderson Cooper might want them. Can you imagine? Now my boo and I share something in common. Anderson is a wonk, and I'm a wonkette. Thank you, Val. Thank you, Dr. Curran. I want to thank all of the members of the faculty, the administrators, the alumni here at American University, the student body. I want to also thank Jane for being here tonight with me as well, and all of you who came out during this very special week. Thank you for naming me Wonk of the Year. I will try to live up to this honor by delivering a speech that is unnecessarily heavy on details. It is truly a great honor, and I assume the selection criteria are appropriately what I call wonkish. This is, as you can imagine, a very great honor. And your website says that a wonk is someone who is smart, passionate, focused, engaged, who uses their knowledge and influence to create meaningful change in the world. You might add, terrible at small talk. But the website says I am a politically connected insider. And if that was true, wouldn't I have won this award the first year it was offered? Now, as you all know, given the fact that this is a season of giving out awards, and we just had a little bit of controversy on a big night, the Oscar night, I want to note that I am the first African American to receive this award, and I'm grateful for that. And ladies and gentlemen, unless my eyes are deceiving me, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett are still not here. I'm worried. They didn't show up. Still, it's important to have an award go to a minority woman. Nobody wants to see a quote-unquote hashtag Wonk award so white ever written about this distinguished honor. And we all know how people use Twitter. And by the way, tonight is hashtag KPU Brazil. So go ahead and have fun at my expense. Just remember, Donald Trump might take up for me. Is my hair okay? Well, thank you for recognizing me, and I want to just tell you that, as some of you might have known, I've appeared on The Good Wife, The House of Cards, but after all these years in American politics, I'm probably best suited for the Game of Thrones. I've dealt with just about everything this side of dragons, but who knows, this political season is still unfolding. I might meet a dragon soon. Now, The Good Wife was inspired by real events and real people. That's how show business works. I'm not going to say which real events are real people, but that's how politics works. My character on the show was inspired by a real person, and that person is me. So it's like having two jobs, but it makes the acting job a lot easier. When I play myself, all I have to do is be myself and resist the temptation to tell the director that is not what Donna would say. But luckily, as you all know, this is Thursday night, so there's no need to worry if I'm on Scandal, because I will not undress in front of you. Now, I love politics. This is my 40th year in American politics. And let me tell you, after 40 years, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, I've been at the national level for a long, long time, 7 presidential campaigns, 56 congressional, that's House and Senate campaigns, 19 state and local campaigns. I've worked on campaigns in 49 states. One more state, I'm going to become Miss America without the bikini. Now, politics is not for people with faint hearts or for people with hearts at all for that matter. Because the nature of politics isn't much like actual nature. For one, things in politics, at least the people I know, most of them are predators. And you have to be very careful. If you think politics is nothing but backstabbing, you're wrong, because there's a lot of front stabbing going on as well. Which is why we're going to talk about what I call the unpredictable, chaotic political season. And Jane and I are going to have an exchange at the end, so she's asked me to keep my remarks under 20 minutes. And I say, I'm accustomed to going at 2 or 3 in the morning. So 20 minutes, I don't know if I can do that, but we'll try. I'll just pretend that it's Anderson Cooper somewhere out in the audience, and we have a 20-minute break, and if that break comes before I stop talking, somebody just say, stop. All right. So let me first start by saying how delighted I am to be here at AU's campus and to be on the basketball court. Some of y'all don't know this, but I was a basketball player in high school and college, and I still have game. I got games. I tried to challenge the president to some hoops, but he didn't want to play. Okay. But I love colleges, and I enjoy being on campuses. I teach at Georgetown. I've taught at the University of Maryland College Park, Harvard Institute of Politics, and the Rutgers Center for American Women in Politics. College is a time to explore. It's a time to discover, to celebrate, and it can be a very joyful time. But it's also a time of challenge, a time to step up to the plate and to go beyond yourselves. The future belongs to you. But in order to claim it, you need to be involved in the present. You need to become more involved, more engaged, and you need to know what's going on. That's right, what's going on, as Marvin Gaye would sing it. We're in a political season, an election year, and there's no question this is a critical moment in our nation's history. The truth is, every election is critical. The decisions we make today, the people we vote for, will affect our future, your future, in ways that we can sometimes barely imagine. Before I arrived here tonight, I had an email from someone in Arizona who said, I waited 5 hours to vote. 5 hours. That's how important elections are in this country, that some individuals, some people are willing to wait long hours in order to cast their ballot. So let me start with the obvious. How many of you are registered to vote? There you go. That's great. I see about 3 or 4 hands. See me afterwards. I should see every hand go up. We should encourage other Americans to vote, and we need, yes, more young people who are willing to vote. More young people who are willing to be engaged, more young people who are preparing themselves for careers in public service. It's time that you answer the call to lead, the call to serve. Answer the call the way I answered at the age of 9. When I volunteered to work on a campaign to register voters, I wasn't old enough, but I could knock on doors and encourage people to tell their mom and their dads and their grandparents and their aunts and uncles it was time to vote. The issue for me was a playground. I wanted a playground in my community. Something as beautiful as this, by the way. But guess what? We registered hundreds of voters, and in that fall we won, and the playground set was installed the following year. Now, when it comes to young people, it's time that politicians start listening to you. You're the most optimistic group of people in this country. When you look at all of the polls, and I have to look at the polls just about every day, and let me tell you, sometimes when you look at the polls, you want to go out and just say, my God, what's going on in this country? 64% of the American people believe that we're on the wrong track. But when it comes to young people, only 25% of you feel like it's a doom and gloom season. You're more optimistic. Just by that criteria alone, I think every one of you should sign up to run in the next election. And why you? Because there's no one better. And why now? Because tomorrow is not soon enough. This is your turn to lead, your turn to make a difference. And tonight I'm calling upon 10,000 young people across this country to begin to sign up, not only to run as delegates in this presidential election season, but start to plan your political future. We need to have more young people sitting at the table. And I know some of you will say, guess what, Donna, I can't get in the room. The door is wide open. And not only is the door wide open, there are seats and a few folding chairs. So take advantage of it. And if somebody is blocking your way, just tell them to scoot over because it's your turn. And I believe very strongly in that. You got to get involved, become interested, become more engaged, learn about the issues, find ways to serve, find ways to give back and pay it forward, to influence what's going on now and what will be going on in the future. What is dominating the news right now, as you all know, is the 2016 presidential elections. And let me tell you, I talk about it every night. Well, not every night. I try to take one night and wash my hair so Donald Trump is not interfering with my sleep. Now, this election will profoundly affect our future, not just because we will be electing a new president, but because of the legacy of our current president, Barack Obama. I will talk about President Obama just a little later. By the way, y'all saw him in Argentina last night putting that move on, doing that dance. Well, let me tell you, I taught him everything he knows about doing the cha-cha and the tango. Yeah, when he was like, I said, oh, look at him. He's still doing it the way I showed him. In fact, I went to the White House once for an event, Jane, and we started dancing. We were doing the Soul Train line. The next morning, I had a torn meniscus. I don't know who slipped and slid, but I was the one that had to end up with a little bit of, you know what, surgery. But let's talk about the 2016 election. And there's no question that Donald Trump has sucked up all of the media's attention. He gets far more play than any other candidates because he says such outrageous things. Might I remind you that today the commentary is about the looks of one of his opponent's wife or her body? Can you imagine we're back at that stage in politics when we have to talk about someone's looks and their bodies? But let's look deeper. A candidate who presents his or her ideas form what I call the narrative of the campaign. But when two or more candidates do this, it allows voters to see issues from every angle. If voters are engaged and candidates are talking about issues, you can sort of listen to what they're saying and what they're trying to achieve, their vision, so to speak. But we have so many cynical politicians today telling voters what they want to hear. Even if the politicians think it's crazy or nuts, they believe if it's a way to win, they don't mind winning on the cheap. So Donald Trump, he takes he takes this philosophy one step further. I'm going to write a column on Trumpology, Trumpphobia, because there's a lot of that going on. He doesn't just tell supporters what they want to hear, he speaks their biases. Donald Trump, since 2015, since the announcement of his campaign, he has been on political talk shows, Sunday political talk shows, 65 times, 28 times by phone. Can you imagine when people like myself, I have to get up, of course, shower, put on something nice, telegenic, no stripes, like tonight. I had to get makeup, hair, and all this other stuff to appear on TV for 20, 25 minutes. Donald Trump gets up, brushes teeth, I don't know, and just calls George or Jake or Chuck Todd or Chris Wallace. He's done that 65 times, and the majority of the time by phone. Donald Trump is a phenomenon. I've never seen anything like it in my life. His 140 characters, and trust me, when Al Gore inspired the invention of the internet, I didn't think we would ever use social media. Today's attack was an Instagram. Instagram. We didn't have Instagrams when I was growing up. We had 3x5 cards. We didn't have the kind of social media and the technology that you have today. But Donald Trump's strategy has been to try to mirror the electorate, to mirror their fears, their anger, their animosity, their prejudices. And the media loves it because it's outrageous. He also makes himself accessible to everyone. Well, not everyone. He knows exactly when to call in. He knows exactly how to respond to attacks. And he knows exactly what he's doing and leading right now on the Republican side. Mr. Trump has never met a political position that he did not embrace. He was for the Iraq War before he was against it. He was for abortion before he opposed it. In the early debates, he called his opponents dumb, incompetent, even too ugly to be president. Then he talked about how qualified, smart, and dedicated they are, the same ones he called dumb the week before. By saying what his supporters think, Mr. Trump is seeking to bond with his voters, and it's working. His supporters view attacks on Donald Trump as personal attacks on themselves. He's been so successful with mesmerizing this kind of loyalty as he's boasted, and I quote, he said, "I can stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose voters." Imagine if Hillary Clinton would say that. I believe if Hillary Clinton said that she could stand in Fifth Avenue and pass out cookies, they would say, "Oh, no, you can't." Surely such a statement should give us pause. What does it say about the average voter, or at least those that are supporting Donald Trump? He's incited violence, saying he liked to punch a protester in the face, defended the extreme positions of his supporters, and when a Trump supporter can shout, "Go back to Auschwitz," and the candidate says nothing, that tells you a lot about the fear and anger that's being exploited. He's threatened journalists, and lately he's threatened that there may be riots at the convention in Cleveland if he's denied the nomination. Now, there's a lot of talk about a brokered convention, and there's an effort to stop Donald Trump, the Never Trump movement. I think it's too late. The effort to stop Donald Trump is because many believe that he's not a real conservative, and those conservatives who have spent decades remaking the Republican Party, pushing out all of the moderates, are horrified that Donald Trump is poised. I believe he is well on his way to become their nominee. Now, as I mentioned, he has a commanding lead over his rivals, especially Ted Cruz. And although Ted Cruz is a legitimate radical conservative, he's loathed in the party because he's never been a team player. He's alienated his colleagues, but right now they see him as the best hope for the Republican Party to continue its ways without Donald Trump tearing up all of the rest of the rules book. Now, on the Democratic side, now I'm a superdelegate, this is what we look like. And while some of you may laugh, it's true. Many of us are minorities. We're members of the labor movement. We're civil rights leaders. We're political activists. We're women's rights leaders. We're gay rights leaders. We're elected officials. We're super. But we're not superior. We're not superior. The superior voters, I'm sure the Republican parties are kicking themselves now saying, we need a couple of those supers. Hell, I'll go over there and help them out. I think half the party need therapy. And after I give them some free drive-by therapy, maybe I can help them out, you know? But anyway, the superdelegates, we're only 14.7% of the total number of delegates needed to win. 85% of the delegates will come from the states, the pledged delegates. And as you well know, on the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton has a very, very good lead. She now leads Bernie Sanders by anywhere between 298 and 303 pledged delegates. Now, of course, when you add the superdelegates, her lead grows from 54% of the delegates selected to almost 66. So one could argue that Hillary Clinton will be our nominee, but we're not finished yet. We still have votes outstanding in Wisconsin, New York, Pennsylvania, California, Maryland, and the District of Columbia, along with the 3 states that will caucus this weekend, Washington, Alaska, and Hawaii, and what I call many of the northeastern states as well. And so while Hillary is poised to become the Democratic nominee, and let me just say this, everybody, while you're sitting, this will be the first time in American history that a woman would secure a major party presidential nomination. we've had minor party females to win their nomination in the Communist Party and, of course, the Green Party and many others, but this will be a major political party. As I mentioned, the nomination is not over. Bernie Sanders will continue to fight until the convention. He's vowed to fight. And let me just say this, although I don't feel the burn many days, I can't feel the burn. I'm too old to feel the burn. If I get any hotter, I'm going back and getting my mini skirt. And y'all don't want to see my knees. But Bernie Sanders, Senator Sanders, has accomplished some remarkable things on the campaign trail. He has brought attention to the huge gap between the wealthy and the middle class and the poor, arguing about income inequality and the accumulation of money in the political system. His message has resonated with millions and millions of new voters, and he has forced, yes, he has forced Secretary Clinton to move to the left on many positions. Sanders has called for a political revolution, and as former Labor Secretary Robert Reich said, Clinton is the best candidate for the system we have now, but Senator Sanders is the best candidate for the system we need. Still, she's managed to attract over 8.7 million voters. That's more than any of the other candidates, including Donald Trump, who likes to, well, I'm not going to say that, who likes to boast about the size of the polls. Put your hands down, Donna. So there's no question that she has a very strong lead, but Senator Sanders will continue to stay in the race, and as a neutral superdelegate. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I was neutral in 2008. And that was difficult because when I would go home to Louisiana, my family would say, you're black, you got to be with Barack Obama. And then my friends would say, no, 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 but you're also a woman, you got to be with Hillary. And so I would have my family say, no, you're black. And my friends say, no, you're a woman. And I finally told all of them, I'm getting old and grumpy and I can support John McCain. So we're going to have a very interesting, what I call, 7 weeks. The next 7 weeks, although we're beyond the decisive phase of the campaign, over the next 7 weeks, we're going to see more states like New York, like Wisconsin, like Pennsylvania, and of course, California, once we get into the last final weeks of the campaign, weigh in on this, and we'll know the results soon enough. The Democrats will gather in Philadelphia at the end of July, and the Republicans, well, what's left of them, will gather in Cleveland, and we'll see what happens if their convention falls into what I call the status of a broker convention, where multiple votes will be required in order to determine who their nominee will be. It's been a very, what I call, unpredictable season. At the beginning of the political year, we believed that one of the governors would emerge as the lead establishment candidate on the Republican side. And one by one, from Scott Walker to my home state governor, Bobby Jindal, to oops, the governor from Texas, have all fallen by the wayside, including the former governor of the state of Florida, Jeb Bush. And so 2 last points. Jan, I'm doing good on time? Yeah. You see what happens when there are grown-ups in the room? Thank you so much. I want to say 2 last things. And one is about President Barack Obama. I do believe we made a good decision back in 2008 to elect Barack Obama as our President of the United States. But as President Obama recently said, one of the few regrets of his presidency has been the rancor and suspicion between the political parties that has gotten worse. Or, as he said, it has gotten us in a lot of trouble. He said the future of what we want in this country will only happen if we fix our politics. And that is our task. Our task is to try to fix our politics. And I can say, as someone who's been in the political world for a long, long time, it will not be easy. The obstructionist approach of the Republicans in Congress has led to a budget stalemate. And this year, you probably have heard, the Republicans will not even consider President Obama's budget. And of course, as you all know, after the sudden death of Justice Scalia, the Republicans' immediate response was to say no hearing, no meeting, no vote on any nomination that President Obama might make. They still want to, what I believe, cut off this president from being able to leave this country in a stronger place. But this president will not back down. He has 301 days remaining in office, and he's going to continue to fight to ensure that every American have a seat at the table, and more Americans will be able to find the jobs and live in prosperity. And yes, this president will continue to keep us safe and strong. So I want to close by saying how grateful I am once again for this wonderful honor. I'm sorry I cannot read all 29 pages, typewritten, 14 font, double space, as I often tell my students. Please do not give me a 10 font, I need 14. I'll take 12, but not 8. But I am going to make sure that the Kennedy Political Union will have the copy of my speech to share with you, and maybe I can come back on campus to be in dialogue and continue this conversation about how to keep more citizens informed and engaged about the political process. This is a wonderful period of time for those of you who love politics and will hear the call to serve, to answer the call to serve, to answer the call to lead, and more importantly, to give back and pay it forward. So thank you once again. I am greatly honored by this, and I cannot wait for someone to retweet this so that I may put it on my Twitter account so the world know hashtag KPU Brazil is a trending item. Thank you so much, and God bless you. All right, come up back. Thank you.
Are you on?
I'm always on.
She's always on.
Yes,
Well,
until about
thank you.
2:30 in the morning.
Oh, well, all right.
What's in the glasses?
I think water.
Okay, you want me to try it?
All right. So thank you, Donna.
It's water.
It's water. I wish I could say water.
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 All right. I have to start with this student question, and I can relate to it. From Brianna Bellotti, School of International Service, class of 2018. What is your advice to women who may hear that they are, quote, too bossy when they're in leadership positions?
Stand up and say, thank you, God, I'm bossy. Woo! Yes. Woo! Yeah. First of all, what a great honor. This is Women's History Month. A month that we celebrate the women of valor, the women of courage, the women who dared. Think about the women back in the 18th century, Susan B. Anthony, Lucretia Mott. Think about all of the women who decided that it was time to empower themselves to go out to demand the right to vote, to demand citizenship. Think about what the commentary was back then. Were they bossy? Hell yeah. Think about the women. Well, first of all, think about Rosa Parks. She sat down, wouldn't get up, wouldn't give her seat up. Was she bossy? I mean, throughout history, starting with the Bible, I like to always tell my students at Georgetown, go back and read the book of Esther. Was she bossy? She told Malachi, I'm going to see the king. And if I perish, I perish. She was there for such a time as this. If you're bossy, wear it. I'm bossy. Be the boss of your own future. Be the boss of your future. Be the boss of your community. Be the boss of this country. I'm looking for more bossy women tonight. Signed up, bossy, KPU, hashtag Brazil. Hashtag KPU. I'm bossy.
I'm glad I decided to ask you that first.
Thank you.
Let me ask you another question. I've recently read your wonderful book. If y'all haven't read it, it's called Cooking with Grease. I realized I had a lot of the same food growing up in Texas as you did. But I don't know that people know that you were one of 9 children.
Yes.
You were what I think we'd call working poor.
Yes.
Your mom was a domestic worker.
Yes.
And your dad was a Korean War veteran who came home and it didn't count for much, and he worked multiple jobs.
Correct.
One of the students wanted to ask you, Alex Gamsick, School of Public Affairs, class of 2017, how important was your teenage campaign work, and also I would ask you your childhood in this sense of social justice?
Very important. The reason why I got involved so early in my life was the night of Dr. King's assassination. And even talking about it now, and it's been a long time, it still makes me, emotional. Dr. King was a man of peace. He was someone that we talked about practically my entire childhood. My mother and my father, everyone knew Dr. King. It was almost like he was your neighbor. He was somebody everybody loved. He was somebody who challenged people of that era to stand up for justice and equality. So you can imagine when you get home at night, get home from school, and my grandmother raised us. My parents worked all the time, but everybody was in a 2-bedroom house. Nowadays, I have 3 bedrooms. I'm like, how did 9 kids and 3 adults live in this much space? But we did it. But Grandma told us that Dr. King was murdered. And she made us get on our knees and pray. Now, we're Catholic. And so we prayed for Dr. King. And then later that evening, when my parents came home from work, they made us get on our knees and pray again. And this time, my mother said, we also have to pray for the person who killed him. And, a little girl. I was a little girl, and I had a big mouth. And yes, I did a little bit of talking, although I'm not the talkative one in my family. You met my sisters, you would know I'm not that much of a talker. But my mother would always say before I could, shut up, Donna. Now, I wish my mother had lived to see me with CNN and ABC in terms of that. I work for ABC and CNN. I like to talk. That's why they put me on until 2 a.m. But back then, you weren't not supposed to talk. And my mother said, pray, just pray. I didn't know. I was a little girl. I didn't know why I had to pray. But that night, that moment in my life really changed me forever. Because I knew then what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to be a civil rights worker. I wanted to work for civil rights and justice and equality, no matter the cost. And that is what I believe I am doing now, and I will continue to do. I said this the other day. I was on the phone with somebody. I was doing what I was stirring the pots. I was getting on somebody's nerve. I was telling them what they should be doing. And this young man happened to tell me, he said, well, we're bringing in women and minorities. I say, wait a minute. I was bringing in women and minorities and gays and lesbians, Hispanic, before anybody else, because I was doing it back in 1984 when nobody thought about it, when nobody wanted to do it. When that door got open and I found myself at the table, I told everybody to scoot over. Let's keep that door open. Come on in. I'll protect you. See, I was bossy. And so that was the moment. That was the moment. The night he was assassinated was the moment that it went in my heart that I would stand up for civil rights and justice and equality. And I am proud of the fact, when I look up on Capitol Hill and see the number of women and minorities of all different stripes, I know that my work is not finished yet. Are we there yet? No, but we're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to expand opportunities for all people. That's what I'm about.
Let me ask you, the Kennedy Political Union people specifically wanted me to ask you, what advice specifically would you give somebody? You've called people, you've said this is an idealistic group, it's why I love working with young people. What would you do specifically if you're about to graduate from American University? What would you do to get involved in the call that you've just made?
Well, first of all, contact me.
You're going to be sorry you said that.
Oh, no, I've already got 2 students, and look, I'm trying to plug you into the conventions. And by the way, I'm a Democrat, but I have a lot of Republican friends, especially those who have attended the therapy sessions that I've been giving them. You got to get involved, ladies and gentlemen. Why are you waiting? I mean, some of you are afraid to knock on doors. I knocked on so many doors by the time I was 12 years old. My knuckles, I tell people, this black here, this is not the real black. This is just charcoal. I'm just knocking. Knock on doors. People need you. Why are you waiting? We have elections going on all over the country, 34 Senate races, 34. Hillary and Donald Trump, okay, if they're the nominees, we're just speculating now, they're going to need people in all 50 states, the District of Columbia. 34 Senate seats, 16 gubernatorial seats, 435 congressional races across this country. So what are you waiting for? You got to apply. And some of these positions, you know, look, the jobs I took when I was your age, nobody wanted to pay me a lot of money. I used to tell folks, they said, Donna, you're losing so much weight. I'm like, they told me I get paid Friday. That was 4 months ago. But the truth is that some of these jobs, initially, they want you to work free. But there are jobs that pay. There are internships that pay. The White House today sent me, they're looking for fellows and scholars and interns. So yes, I like to tell people they're looking for fellows, interns, and scholars. So apply. Apply yourselves. You have a degree from a very, very good school. And many of you are coming out of college at a time people are looking for the kind of skills that you have learned at this university. You're good writers, you're good speakers, you're great organizers, you're activists, and you got to apply. Look, I understand some of you would like to go out and get a big paying job, and, you know, so you can start paying down the debt. I get that. But I also get the fact that this is a really exciting time to get involved. And why not get involved? So that's what I tell them.
Okay.
KPU Brazil, hashtag. Hashtag. My website works, by the way. I pay my electric bill.
Donna, I interviewed Bernie Sanders here last year for the College Democrats.
You feeling the burn?
Well, I'm not saying.
You're neutral?
I'm not saying. I still consider myself a journalist.
Oh, okay.
But I will say, I told my friends in journalism that there were about, you know, a huge crowd of kids who were very much for him. If he is not the nominee, as looks to be, as a Democratic National Committee official, how are you going to get young people out? Are you all worried that they will say, well, I was really idealistic for Bernie, I didn't get my guy? How are you going to get young people involved for Hillary, if Hillary's the nominee?
That's why I think Hillary, first of all, what Secretary Clinton has said is that she wants to be for you, even if you're not for her right now. I think that's very important. She has to not only articulate these issues, but become an inspirational leader for some of the things that Bernie has been advocating on the campaign trail. You know, before Bernie Sanders got involved, the question I would often get on TV, how are you going to motivate young people when Obama is not on the ticket? So now it's like, how are you going to motivate young people when Barack Obama and Bernie Sanders are not on the ticket? I'm going to say this about Bernie Sanders, and I don't know him as well as I know Hillary Clinton. I've known Hillary Clinton for a long time. I've known Bernie Sanders for a long time, too. But I can tell you the one thing that Bernie Sanders will not tolerate is for his voters, his supporters to stay home. If you listen to Bernie Sanders, and I've listened to him a lot, Bernie is saying that the reason why we are losing so much ground politically, socially, economically, is because people don't vote. Less than 14% of the American people are participating in primaries and off-season elections or midterm elections. About 33 to 36% of the people in presidential elections, a little over 50, 54% in 2012, back to 53%. I mean, we have to participate in our democracy. It is we the people, not we the politicians, not we the lobbyists, not we the wealthy, we the people. So I do believe that Bernie Sanders, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, all of them will have to work very hard to not only engender the support and the trust and the passions of young people. I want some of the young people to lead the way. Lead the way forward. What are you waiting for? I mean, recruit yourself.
Well, you know, my students who've identified themselves to me as Republicans in my classes have said they're not going to vote. They're going to vote Green Party. They might, you know, they might end up voting for Hillary Clinton if Donald Trump is the nominee. And I'm wondering, how much do you blame the media for Trump's rise?
Now, I work for the media, so
Right.
let me be very careful. I want to go back to work. Donald Trump makes himself accessible. And remember, last time I checked, CNN is on nonstop. And we try to, I can speak for CNN, We look for new programming all the time. And Donald Trump is not just someone who says outrageous things that we have to sort of analyze, but he's accessible to all of the cable shows, and not just the cable shows. Donald Trump has surrogates available at every hour on the hour. So yeah, do I blame the media for taking advantage of the fact that you have a candidate who's willing to call in, dial in, come in, send out his surrogates every day? He has mastered it. You know, some nights I'm on television and they said, because you go into the little conference room before and they're like, we only have 2 candidates tonight who will be giving victory speeches. I said, why? Because Marco Rubio is out? He gives a victory speech when he loses. He came in 5th place and you'd have thought he won. I miss Marco Rubio. But Donald Trump will dial it in right away. You always know where Donald Trump is. Then you got to figure out, will Hillary give one? Will Bernie give one? Not at the same time, because we don't get that much time. So part of the problem is that he makes himself accessible.
Well, but let me
And they take advantage of it.
Well, but you've worked, I mean, you work for Jesse Jackson, you work for a lot of different politicians, and I guess I wonder, historically, when you look at this, you know, Trump is saying awful things.
Outrageous.
I mean, you know, and he doesn't seem to suffer from saying we should build a wall or suffer from saying we should ban Muslims. I mean, are you concerned? I know you are, because you spoke about that, about the fact that nothing seems to stick in terms of
But do you
criticism of him.
blame Donald Trump? As I mentioned, he is echoing and amplifying what millions of Americans believe. Now, I continue to tell, you know, I'm trying to be the psychotherapist here in the room with my Republican friends. The other night I wear red to soothe them, to calm them. Because, you know, like, you notice I've been wearing a lot of red. It's not because I like red, it's because they're mortified. I'm like, really? Y'all are mortified? I saw this coming. When he called Mexicans rapists and murderers, that was the time to stop Donald Trump. When he began to talk about Megyn Kelly and bleeding from wherever, that was the time to stop Donald Trump. When he talked about Carla Fiorina's face and she didn't look like her, that was the time to stop Donald Trump. Let's go on and on to November, Muslims, after the horrific attack in St. Bernardino. Donald Trump said some of the worst vile things. That was the time. When he lost the Iowa caucuses, that was the time. And where were my Republican friends? They were so busy trying to have a bromance. Like, if I stay close to him, comb my hair, push it back, bring it over, maybe when he finally loses, his supporters will come to me. No. This ability to absorb, soak up, and then amplify that anger, it has worried me for several political cycles. And I once told my friend Carl Rove, Carl and I have been involved in politics for a long time, and I beat him a lot of times, and, you know, he knows how to cheat. So, you tell him I said it, too. If you think I got over if you think I have gotten over the election in 2000, no amount of therapy will help me. But, you know, when you stoke up anger, when you build animosity, when you scapegoat and xenophobia and misogyny, it's going to come back. I mean, you put enough of that, it's just like a gumbo. Now, we all know, those of us who understand a roux, when you're stirring up things in that roux to get it thick, you can't unstir it. You can dilute it, but you can't unstir it. They have stirred up this kind of what I call xenophobia, this misogyny, this Islamophobia. This is who Donald Trump has become. Donald Trump he's figured out, you know what? I can get good ratings if I sound just like them. And that's who Donald Trump is. I've watched it. I'm not entertained by it. I'm horrified by it. But a major political party has been taken over by an alien, a political alien. He's not one of them. He's not a real conservative. When is the last time you heard a conversation about the budget? When is the last time you heard a conversation about taxes? I mean, the things that typically Republicans, you know, they want to talk about these issues. we're talking about people's facial hands and body parts. And today we're talking about spouses. That's Donald Trump.
So what kind of campaign do you think Hillary Clinton should run if she's the nominee?
The last 2 days, first of all, Bernie Sanders is in Oregon and Hillary has been out in California. The last 2 days, she's had substantive conversations about national security and steps we should take to ensure that our homeland is protected and how we can protect our allies. I mean, she's going to run a textbook campaign that is filled with policy because that's who she is, as she mentioned on the campaign trail. She's not Bill Clinton and she's not Barack Obama. I don't know why she said that. We would like, oh, sure, you're not Barack Obama. And nope, you're not Bill. She is most comfortable. This is what I tell candidates, and this is what I tried to tell Al Gore. His advisors kept saying, but you gotta be an alpha male, as if we know what the hell that means. That's like heaven. No, I'm not gonna say it because I gotta be careful in the Donald Trump era not to say things that come to my mind. I have a little filter. But a candidate should best represent their values. And she is a policy person. She is comfortable in a small room. She's not comfortable on a stage with 20,000 people. And when you see her out there and people, and by the way, I don't know about you, but I'm mortified by these comments that, well, I don't like the sound of her voice. Well, she's not Beyonce or Barbara Streisand. Well, I mean, why are we talking about her voice? Guys scream all the time, and God knows when they emote, we're like, oh, he's so passionate, he's empathetic, but she cannot do all of that. And this is the problem. I think she has to run the campaign that she's comfortable with, and we have to accept the fact that she's going to run a campaign that is policy-driven, that is future-oriented, that is about ideas that will hopefully inspire us to change or continue to change, versus one that get up every day and say, I don't like you. What did I do? The size of your hands. Well, hell, seriously. I mean, how do you compete with somebody?
That's what you would advise her.
That's what I would advise her, and I'm going to advise everybody to stay out of Safeway and Giant and don't buy the National Enquirer, because Donald Trump will dump all of the trash there first.
Well, that's what I wondered. I mean, he's probably going to run the trashiest.
It's going to be a trash campaign. It's going to be for people like Louisianians. You know, we have 4 seasons: shrimp, crab, crawfish, and oysters. It's what we throw our trash out with, a little paper. We're going to have to get that for Donald Trump and just throw it out with the trash.
Well, I have one more question I want to ask you, and this is from Dow Doldoy from the School of International Service, class of 2018. We got a lot of 2018 people here. What do you think is the biggest issue? You may have already felt you spoke to this. What is the biggest issue facing our nation today, and who is the most important presidential candidate, which I guess asks you to endorse, to address this issue?
I cannot endorse, but I do believe Bernie Sanders talked a lot about money in politics, and we have to do something about money in politics. As of tonight, we're poised to spend anywhere upwards of $5 to $8 billion, depending on how much money is spent in terms of the down ballot senatorial races. We have to clean up our political system. We need to clean up our electoral process. There's no reason in a democracy that people should stand in line 5 hours to vote. We need to restore the Voting Rights Act across the country. No American should have to present multiple forms of ID in order to cast their ballot. So I hope that we can not only become more engaged, more informed, get more actively involved. You know, I love this country. I've visited 180 college campuses over the last 10 years, and I'm scheduled to visit 4 more campuses over the next 3 weeks. And I'm excited. Ohio State University, you know, I'm a Buckeye. I can't wait. I was Miss Buckeye in 5th grade. You think I just played basketball? I tried that little other stage performance too. I didn't do so well, but I ended up being Miss Buckeye. It's better than being Miss Blue Eye, because with my black skin, it didn't look so well, but I'm Miss Buckeye. So I'm excited about the prospects that so many young people are becoming more what I call informed about not just their political rights, but they're becoming self-empowered to become more fully aware of why they should take their seats at the table. You know, in 20 years, this country is going to become majority minority. And for minority students in this audience today, think about that. There will be more of you at the ballot box voting than ever before in the history of our country. And with that responsibility, we're going to have to start preparing ourselves now to take a seat at the table. So that's why I keep telling my young colleagues, my young friends, why you? Because there's no one better. And why now? Because tomorrow's not soon enough. This is a great country. I can't wait to go back to Alaska. Every time I go to Iowa, I double the black population. But I will continue to go back, and I will continue to move the country forward. That's who I am, and that is what I'm going to do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have time for any audience questions, or we don't do that? Anybody in the audience?
Oh, there are plenty of people in the audience. We didn't do it that way, but
Yes, indeed. I can't see you, but I can hear you. So the question, I believe, is that when Hillary Clinton is not running for something, her numbers are high, which is true. When she was First Lady, her numbers were in the stratosphere. But when she started to run for the United States Senate in 2000, her numbers plummeted. So that is perhaps, there's a lot of partisanship in that, there's a lot of polarization in that, and there's a lot of unfavorability right now toward all politicians, not just Hillary Clinton. Most politicians today, as you all know, Congress approval rating is at about 9 or 10%. Congress is as popular as a root canal. So I do believe that, you know, as we get into the fall election, if she is the nominee of the Democratic Party, and as the party comes together and coalesce, that her numbers will improve. But even if her numbers, you know, are what I call, if you go back to 2012, President Obama's numbers were underwater as well, and yet he won with 336 electoral votes. So I'm not as worried about her numbers today. I'm not as worried about any of the numbers that I see today. I'll be much more worried, much more concerned after we get through Labor Day and the first presidential debate on September 19th. That's when I start to worry. I'm not a woman that likes to worry a lot. Look at all of this gray hair. You think I want to worry anymore? I'll look like Anderson Cooper, my boo. Any more questions?
I think we could take one more question.
See, I'm a little bit more generous. You can tell I'm a
all
cable
right.
call girl here.
What? Okay.
One-
I can't see.
Yes, ma'am. You're right. You get on TV. Honey, I've been writing since my mama gave me my pencil and my paper. I've been talking ever since, too. And look, just today, CNN signed Angela Rye. I'm proud that I'm on CNN. I'm proud that Ana Navarro's on TV. I'm proud that Maria Cardona is part of CNN. I'm proud of Suzanne Malveaux. I'm proud of Federica Whitfield. And I wish there are more and more women. I'm proud of Joy Reid on MSNBC. We need more women at the table. There's no question about it. But how do you do it? You start doing it. You start writing. I try to submit a column. Go on my website. I did my column today. I try to submit columns 2-3 times a month to CNN. Essence Magazine, I write for them. I have a piece in Ms. Magazine. So we need you to write. We need you. If you need somebody to push you, I don't know what you're writing, but, you know, just, well, there's not just CNN.com and Essence and Ms. There's also The Root. I get on that one. There's BET. There's Black America Web. There are Mediums. There's Medium. That's another piece. I mean, and then you can blog. Are you on Twitter? Are you using all of the social media and you gauge it? And are you writing for the local paper here? Okay, well, you starting. I wrote for the Daily Reveille. See what I mean? So you've already taken the
Wait,
first
just
step.
Tell us your name. I can't see you out there. Oh, yeah. Hi.
But let me tell you, I mean, I just started writing. I just started submitting columns. Every now and then, I even call up a friend at USA Today. I look at bylines when I read the newspaper, and then I call them up or I Google them, and I find out a way to get in touch. I actually went to Essence last year and said, can I write a couple political columns? So I don't know, maybe I'm not a shy one. I'm bossy. Well, there you go, Bossy Sisters Together. Why don't we start our little blogging going on? KPU, hashtag KPU Brazil. And by the way, the tweets are all mine. I write my tweets all the time. I'm 140 characters ahead of you. I had to turn off my gear when I arrived because I took a picture from where? Up there. I started before I sat down. And before I go to bed, I'm going to tweet about it. Girl, there's not a day that goes by when I won't give you some tweeting love. So keep the love going. It's all about love. All about love. And as we close tonight, I just want to say that my heart, my thoughts, and my prayers are with the people of Brussels. We have a lot of work to do, ladies and gentlemen, but we have to remember our values at a time like this when people are hurting, when there are people who are now figuring out how to bury their loved ones, and there's people still missing. So let's continue to lift them up in prayer, and let's continue to pray during this Holy Week. So I want to say once again, thank you for giving me the Wonk Award. I'll wear it with pride. Hashtag KPU Brazil. Thank you so much. Thank you.